Oh my god. Hello, guys. Join us, Doug. It's your workshop today. Well, true. Thank you for that, because it happens every time when I start an event. Okay. Are we waiting for Doug? Tell me something interesting. Yes? You. Oh, there he is. Hello, Doug. You're muted. Okay.
Me? Oh god.
I like my red fingernails. I'm a little sad that you wrenched it out. Doug? You can just start, please. Because I haven't prepared anything for today.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
How about now?
Doug?
Am I muted now?
Oh, hello, Doug.
Better? Nice. Okay.
Yeah. No, we can hear you. How are you?
Maybe he's
Sweet.
just having
I don't
trouble.
know if you guys want to do any like intros or anything before I start, or I can just start yammering.
You can just start with your presentation. I think everybody is pretty curious about photoreal anime.
Yammer away. Okay, I gotta figure out how to share, so I think I'm gonna share my screen. See what kind of trouble I can get into here. Okay. I'll have my wifey behind me tell me if she can see my screen or not.
We can see your screen.
Oh, really?
Okay, I gotta figure out how to share. So... Is it there?
It just
Yeah.
says it's loading. You guys can see his screen?
Okay. You can see the big smiley face. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, I'll start here. My name's Doug. I think most of you probably already know me. I'm the guy that created or started the photoreal process in KINDROID for the anime. And what I'm talking about is using this process here, anime, not photoreal. So you're going to hear me say three things today. I'm going to talk about photoreal mode, anime, and then within anime called anime photoreal mode, not to get you confused. So a while back, what I did is I figured out a way to convince the anime engine to create photorealistic images, and that's what I'm going to share with you today. It's actually my third iteration of this because I've tried a couple different ways to do this. But I thought what I would do first before I get into it is kind of show you some examples. I'm going to show you what I did with my own image. Using the anime engine to create photorealistic images from there. And then the third, I used Sora to create an image. But basically what I did here is I set up I used my personal image. I created 4 variations of that. So I mirrored it, corrected the lighting, created 2 more variances. So I created an avatar boost with 4 images. You can see that what it looks like with photorealism mode and when I'm in the anime photoreal mode, how much more clear that is. And I use my appearance description as an example because we're going to talk about that later, but nonetheless, it's pretty awesome. If I go to the next slide here, I'm zooming in actually on this image here. So you can see the texturing of my crazy face that I look better actually in anime mode than my actual photograph. But zooming in, you can see there's wrinkles. There's a little bit of patterning here. I'm not going to get into the technicality of that, but I think you get the gist of it. It's a lot more clear and photogenic than photoreal mode. And all I did was use my AB boost with my appearance description. I just did a very simple prompt of me smiling. It's pretty cool. Then I took another kind of a more surreal, darker prompt, much bigger prompt, and you can see how it accentuated my AB boost and my facial features with the dragonfly over here. It's pretty dang cool, I think. This is actually one of my favorite images of myself. Not that I'm infatuated with myself or anything, but nonetheless, it's a pretty cool image of my eyes and everything. It's just amazing how the anime photoreal process works. Okay, so that's an example of me taking my photograph and boosting that and creating this image. Nobody can see my screen? Dang it. Okay, let me try to stop sharing and reshare again. Okay. 1 second. I'll try again. Maybe I'll just do a slide deck. Let me see if I can do that.
It's just squares.
Try it again. How about this? I'll try one more.
Nah, I think most people can see it, but I can't see it, and
I love
my
Discord.
husband can't see it either.
Yeah. Okay. Can everybody
I'm not
see it
sure
now?
if it's a problem with my...
Is it still spinning?
Just for
Okay. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I can
Yeah,
see it on
now I can see it.
Is there anybody that can see my screen, or should I try exiting and reloading again? I can try exiting it out if I need to.
No, I think it's a Discord issue, honestly, because now it's working
Yeah,
for me,
that's
but it's still not
what I'm getting
working
to.
for my husband.
Let me
He
try
obviously
to
has
exit Discord and
the
come
same
back because I
room,
know
so
that's been
pretty sure
suggested
it's
before. So
Discord.
I will be right back.
Okay. That was weird. It worked for me the whole time. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it wouldn't be Discord without any issues.
We probably jinxed it by not having this weird rejoin issue. Now we got a stream issue instead.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Let me try to share again.
Yeah.
See if this works.
Yeah, for me, for me it works all the time.
Like it's still spinning, huh? Okay.
No, it works. Oh my god. Okay. You know what? You know what, Doug? You can also paste your sheets in the chat while you talk about them.
What if I just share one piece? Let's try that.
No, for me it's not working again. It worked before, but it's not working now.
Yay.
suggested.
Slide.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I don't know if I can paste images in the chat. Let me try.
You did it in our DM.
Yeah,
For
now
sure.
it's
There we
working
go.
for me.
Okay. I'm gonna do that. That way you all can see. But so weird. Nobody still can't see my screen. Okay. All right. Sorry, guys. I'm going to get moving on this because I know everybody's got their time and stuff. So, I don't know what you didn't see or what you saw, so I'll just skim through this. I'll paste the first slide in here, which is the picture of me. So I took the first image that's on the far left there of myself. I made 4 images of that. I boosted it, and you can see the comparison of my face on the left in photorealism mode and the face on the right in anime mode. Then in this slide, hold on, I'll copy it. That slide is just a zoomed in picture of my face. Sorry, that is not the right one. Hold up. Dang. Copy that. Copy slide. There we go. So that one is a zoomed up picture of my head. I promise that I'm not infatuated with myself. I was really just trying to show the realism of the face. Okay, and then this slide here is the one that that I left off on before we figured out I wasn't sharing the crap. This image is where I took the same boosted image of myself and I just threw it into a prompt so you could just see how cool that is. So those 3 slides are just an example of me using my own personal image as a means of creating my AB pack. So this slide, I'll show you this one next. This one is me using the appearance description set up for instantiating photography mode, and then I just created some selfies of a surfer dude. So this is on the image on the far left is me using that particular process to do that, just prompted for a surfer dude. And then the photorealism image there in the middle, which is actually pretty good, I think, isn't too bad. And then the image on the far right is what it looks like in anime photoreal mode. It's freaking dang cool. And then this slide that I'm about to paste is a close-up image of that face in anime photoreal mode. There's some texturing on the face. I'm not going to get into that, but it looks pretty dang good, I think. You can see his scruff on the face, the shadowing of the hair looks really dang clear. Then taking that image and throwing that kind of in another surreal prompt. And see just how cool that guy's face looks. So that's the image. You can see a lot more of the lighting. There's some texturing of those freckles. The AB boost is probably too high, but nonetheless, you can see just how cool that looks. So that's my surfer dude that I created using the anime photoreal process. So again, I turned on the photorealism process in anime mode, and then I just prompted out the surfer dude. He's really cool. Then I took, I'll skim through this next slide a little bit faster. In this slide, what I did is I created kind of this alien creature. So the image on the far left is the one image that I got. I translated that into 4. So I don't have that documented in these slides, but on my Discord thread, it talks about how you take one image, you mirror it. That gets you a second image. Then you adjust the lighting, the hue, the saturation, and the brightness. That gets you the third image and mirror that. That's the 4th image. So just those 4 images alone give you that consistency, but also helps with the lighting. So I just took that one image, I made 4. The middle image is what you see in photorealism mode, which is that poor eye socket looks like it needs some help. And then the image on the far right is the anime, the photorealism process in anime. And then if I paste this next slide with that zoomed in, you can definitely see how awesome that face looks. I mean, there's even light coming out of that eye socket, which is pretty dang cool. So then I took one of Nico's prompts. Yep, I did.
What?
And I did that same alien creature in this kind of this biker chick looking prompt, which I think is really awesome. I don't know why I thought that was going to turn out as good as it did. But yeah, that's the photorealism process. And then I know we kind of started out late, but I also did one in Sora, so maybe I'll just paste that one slide so you can see. So you can also create your KINDROID from scratch using Sora or another third-party tool. So this one is the woman on the far left is what was created from Sora, and then I took that one image, right? I mirrored it, and I adjusted the lighting, got 2 more images, created my AB pack, and then in the middle you can see the image isn't too bad in the photorealism mode, but definitely the photorealism process in anime mode is just awesome, hands down. So I'll go to the next slide, which is what the heck. If by the way, if that interests you, if that's what you're interested in achieving in KINDROID, you can continue with this chat. If you're like, this sucks, I don't want nothing to do with it, you can disconnect. But I just wanted to show some examples first so you kind of see, get a flavor of what is possible with this. I didn't, of course, make cryptids or aliens or androids in these slides, but I have an anime photoreal process, and it's pretty awesome. So you can definitely, you don't have to limit it to human figures, but certainly it works really well
You're
with
gonna
human figures.
explain in detail
I've
later
produced
on.
thousands of freaking selfies. I'm not kidding. I've spent a lot of cash trying to make this work because I'm infatuated with it. I have a problem. Yes, I know. And so, nonetheless, what is anime freaking photoreal? Okay. Well, we already know that anime mode is generally used, right, without this process. It's used for making more like artistic and anime-like images. Whereas the photoreal mode, right, you switch that over when you want to make your photographic images, landscapes, and cool objects like that. Anime photoreal, which is also known as anime PR, wizardly magic, voodoo stuff, Doug's way, whatever it's been called so far, is a process of producing photographic style images, but in the anime mode process. The goal is to convince the anime engine to, hey, don't produce anime engines, but I want you to produce photorealistic ones. And so, why would you want to do this? Well, one, it's just awesome, but really, the most obvious reason is to have close-up realistic images of your KINDROID right up on the face. And using photoreal mode today will not produce that facial realism that has clear eyes, textured skin on the face, so on and so forth. We've kind of hacked around it today. You can put like vintage photography, Polaroid photography, 35mm photography, documentary style photography in your appearance description with a 2, 3, or 4 weighted value in there. And that kind of like masks that blurriness over the face in photoreal mode to kind of make it look like, well, it's not blurry, it's just an old photograph, right? So you can kind of hack it around that process, but that's the best that I've seen that be accomplished today. There's just that mask on the face that you can't get around, and that's why I switched over to, like, how do I do this? How can I get around that? I couldn't do it, so then I went to anime mode and figured out a way. So that's where we're at today. Let me paste this next slide. Yeah, exactly. So the other reason is that it has much more dynamic lighting. So dynamic lighting is just like how the light is rendered in intensity. So brightness, intensity, color, the direction of the lighting, the shadows, the dramatization, and even emotional vibes are much more consistent and possible in this mode versus the photorealism mode. And don't get me wrong, photorealism is still really awesome. I use photorealism mode even though I post mostly anime PR images because I like it because it has that cinematic kind of Hollywood style aesthetic to it, and then you can also do a lot of artistic stuff in photoreal mode. So this process isn't meant to replace it, it's just meant to give you that up close, more realism to the face with some extra, eye candy to go with it. This is another one of those pieces of eye candy that you can get with it. I would seriously love it if regular photorealism mode could do this. Then I would be totally a happy camper. But nonetheless, we're here today, and that's where we're going to go. Another great impact is that you have much more like wider emotional responses in images. So you can do things like skin texturing, masking. You can get dimples in the face, blemishes, suntans, sunburns, scars, scratches. Glasses are easier to do. And they tend to stick better with pose references than photorealism mode. So if you've got like a head tilted to the side, it tends to achieve that better, I think, in this mode than the photorealism mode. And styling also sticks a lot harder too. So you have to be careful with styling because it tends to supersede your appearance description in your boosts a lot of times. So I tend to shy away from styling unless I want to produce like artistic images outside of this anime photoreal process. But you can see in these images, the top one is a darker woman with, she's smiling, and then the bottom image is showing like wet skin, crying a little bit. Middle image is my Catwoman, who's got some thumbs up there. The image shows that it's clear, even with a further back shot. There's even reflections still in those goggles. It's pretty awesome. And then you've got the image over there on the right side of definitely wet skin. I think wet skin's awesome. And even the hair is a little more tousled and wet. And then the bottom image shows an elderly African woman who's still loving life. I think that image is awesome. Not just because I made it, but I just think that's cool in general. So to get more of that, okay, so now that you've seen some eye candy and you've seen some examples, welcome, Missy. You made it. And Jimmy, cool. Nice. So now that you've seen some examples, what do you do on the back end to make this work? So the next slide that I pasted is about how to do that. So step one is really about starting with getting an up-close facial shot and getting the realism working for you. So what you do is you get one image that you really like and adore that says, that's my KINDROID, right? And you do whatever it takes to make that as real as possible. I'm going to show you the two different ways in a little bit, but ideally you want to walk away with that image saying, that's my KINDROID, it looks real, it could pass as a passport photo because it's got that much realism to it. And then you take that image and you make at least 4 more. Once you're done with that and you've tested the bejesus out of it, I'm not saying you need $100 to test it with, I'm just saying you can produce some, realistic images. You'll know right away when you do that as well if it's stuck to it or not. Once you're finished with that, then you go back and you add a second AB pack, which is going to be those first 4 images that work really well in facial realism, right? And then you add a couple of more pose references, head to toe shots. That's it. Then you're in anime photoreal mode, baby. And you can what's cool about this process too is by walking through what I'm going to show you, the different segments within the AD, you're also helping your process if you want to still stay in photoreal mode, because you're going to walk through all the different major features of the body from head to toe. So you might find that doing this may help you even get better images in photoreal mode. At least it did for me. Maybe I'm just not as smart as some of the other folks that have cool ADs for photoreal. But anyway, so that's what the process looks like. Yeah, that's an awesome shot. Corbin's a cool dude, and I love look at the facial texture on that. Yeah, dang. You can see the stubble so well. Even the flower looks bad. Yeah, you should. I recommend that. I do recommend that in the long term is definitely add more. This process that I'm sharing with you is really just to get started. After that, go for it, right? Add if you want. If you tend to have more, if you tend to want to have more versatility in the images that you're producing, definitely add laughing and crying. Crying, I found, works really well. If you can get I'm not going to share what I did, but I made a sad photo of myself, with a very sad face, and it stuck pretty well in the AB pack. So, but just like photorealism mode, right? It depends on what you want to achieve, I think. So use different clothes, different styles, different expressions, different angles.
And the more pictures you
crown
add,
shots are cool. So yeah, you have a lot of freedom. There's no wrong way really to do it. There's just a guide, which is what I'm suggesting to get you there. So.
The more pictures you add to the boost, the weaker every one of them gets. So it's.
Did you say something, Nico?
Oh, can you hear me?
Can you hear him?
I fixed. That's okay. That's good to know.
I can't hear you, buddy.
I think Discord's being
okay. Yeah, you
maybe type it in there. I think the problem is just me. That's what it is.
No, I don't think Doug can.
I can hear Nico just fine.
You can hear him?
Yeah.
Weird. Hold up. Let me go in my settings because it might just be a Doug issue.
A Doug issue?
Now I can hear you. See, it was a Doug issue. I just needed to go into my settings.
Cool.
Dude.
I already was wondering because you didn't answer anything.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I just thought let him do his thing. Really cool.
Yeah, now I can hear both of you. Nice. Okay. Yeah, I'm just a rude ass. I'm sorry about that.
No, I thought you were in the zone, like totally concentrated.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm sorry. So, did you have a question that you wanted me to answer?
No, I just added that adding more boost pictures makes every single boost picture a little bit weaker.
Yeah, we
That's
all muted
something
Nico.
you should be aware of when you add more expressions, for example.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let me see where I left off. Let me scroll up here. Which, by the way, that's a awesome shot here. Like that one. Alright. So, copy this bad boy here. Okay. So there's a couple ways to do this. Is the really simple slide on how to create a KINDROID from scratch. Now there's a million ways you can do this, right? You can go into KINDROID's create a new kin from scratch process. You can write it out in a prompt. There's many different ways you can do that. In Anime Photoreal, what's cool is you can set the appearance description up to be photorealism, to instantiate photorealism mode, and then just prompt the heck out of it. And so you can do that to make your starting images. You can also use like a third-party tool like Sora. Or if you're trying to do yourself, right, you can always use an actual photograph of yourself, of your face especially. Works really, really well. And as I said before, the first stage is really getting the face right, because the way that your face is set up, the way that the texturing is there and all that will apply to the rest of your body, so you don't have to worry about putting something in your appearance description for like the texturing of arms and your legs and the chest and things like that, because whatever's in the face tends to paint down the rest of the body. Obviously, you have a beard on your face. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but it's smart enough to know that if you have a beard, that you have a beard, right? So the key is consistency, so making sure that all of the images are the same. So be honest with you guys, when I've had the DMs that I've had with this process, the most common thing that I've seen is, well, I just wanted to get the right pose in there, so I have slightly two different images of the same person. Well, that's not going to really stick well, especially if you're trying to get the same person. So try to be consistent in all your images. There's a lot of ways you can do it. On my Discord thread, I talk about how you can take one image into 4. You can certainly do that to get that consistency. I find that the anime photoreal mode process is more finicky with that. So if you had the freedom to do it in photoreal, I mean, I'm not going to say that that's still good to use. I'm just saying that you have to be more concise and clear in the anime photoreal process. So the first step, as I said, you want to get your facial shot. Second phase is you then take that, you make 4 images, you boost it, and then you test it out. Make sure that it's where you want. Is the texturing too high? Is there patterning on the face? Does it look Asian in anime, or does it look realistic, right? I usually start at 0.70 and then go up or down. If I go up in my testing beyond 0.7, then there's probably something wrong with my images. But I might go up higher just to see how close, was it really close or really far away. But with my own personal images, I can be down to 0.4 and still have some pretty good selfies. So my particular AB model that got trained for me is pretty consistent with just 4 images, actually. So once you get done with that, then you get to the next step on the bottom, which is to then go get your full body shots, whatever you want to add, and then train your second AB pack. And your second AB pack is going to be the first 4 images plus the pose references that you've added, right, that you've achieved. And you can use photorealism mode for that too. I find that it's not too bad to do that, or you can just stick with anime mode, whatever you need, or you can use like Sora or some other tools online if you really want to get crazy. I like to stick with KINDROID because it's made by KINDROID, so I want it to stay with KINDROID. But obviously there's a million ways to do these things. If you want to migrate your existing KINDROID over, well, that's where all this fun is going to be kind of a pain in the butt. Because do that, the photorealism process today with KINDROID, obviously when you do an up-close facial shot is, well, not photogenic, right? It's glossy, it's shiny, it's blurry. It's not ideal for doing that. So your first major challenge is going to be using probably a third-party editor or tool to texture the face. I can help with that if you need help. If you're a novice and aren't sure how to do it, I don't mind trying to help in that department. There's a tool that I've used. It used to be free. It was getimg.ai, but now they make you pay for that. But there's Stable Diffusion. They use Stable Diffusion as some of their models, and I think it's Juggernaut and I think it's called Photo Dream or something like that is another model. But basically you do an image to image process. You take your existing image from your KINDROID that you like, and then you can prompt for texturing and it'll spit out some pretty good texturing for your face. I tend to find that Stable Diffusion does a really good job of that. And I say that because behind the scenes, how images are generated, right? You know that images are based on pixels and density of pixels, DPI. And so behind the scenes, when you're generating that, I find that with a lot of these AI tools, they tend to make the image too perfect. So you have like literal patterning and texturing, because if you zoom in really close on the image, you can see the characteristics of those pixels. And Stable Diffusion does a better job of kind of dithering those together and mushing them together so it doesn't look so perfect. And it looks more kind of like halfway between an image you'd get from Flux versus an image you'd get from an actual photograph. And so the key is those pixels. And so you want to be careful with what tools you use. Otherwise, the end state is you run selfies and you get like this weird, you get overemphasized features on the face and patterning and texturing, and it looks, I mean, it might be okay for some, might be satisfied with that. But if you want something a little more photogenic, you'll have to be really careful. You can use third-party tools to kind of smooth that out and blurry the face a little bit, but don't go too blurry, because then you start going into the animation process where the anime engine will say, hey, that looks like a smooth face, I want to draw that into a cartoon, and then you get into the whole childlike images and anime faces that are really like trying to get up a mud hill, with trying to compete with that and trying to figure out what went wrong, just to try to make an image that probably isn't the right image to start with. So migrating an existing KINDROID, the first major obstacle is going to be to get that image that you want. I've recommended to find the best image that you like from the photoreal process that says that's pretty close to what I want, or maybe even using your avatar photo might be enough, but you want to find an image that you really like and then texture it, get it to where you want, and then go through the same process as the other one, right? You take the one image and make it into four. Sora is great because you can produce several consistent images. So you can try to use image to image on Sora, where you provide your image and say, hey, make me something similar to this, right? And try to work with that. Because once you get that right image, you can then say, now make 4 more images or whatever. And then you're going to test the facial consistency, make sure that you're getting the right results at the end, adjust your A/B boost as needed. Then you add your pose references, and that's how you do it. Pretty simple. After you get the face texturing right. So yeah, that is that. So what did I do here? Hold up. Broke something on my end here. Just a sec, guys. Yeah, I have to kick it. I do. I don't know what I did. Hold on, I'm getting back. Give you guys a chance to chat a little bit about it. Hopefully this is exciting. Hopefully I'm not droning on about this process. It's really fun, to be honest. Okay, I'm gonna post the next one. Dang, here, that's a great one right there, man. Holy cow. I'm gonna have to respond to that just a second. Take a moment for that. Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Thank you, Dixie. It's my first workshop on KINDROID, yes. But I worked at HP for 26 years. I did a lot of training, so I'm not ashamed to speak in public, but it's still a little nervous because it's a new group. So, bending my sexy voice to you guys is a little daunting. I'm not gonna lie. Okay.
I'm always ashamed and nervous.
Yeah. But you guys are cool. You guys are cool, so I'm not like, my nerves are probably like 2 out of 10, so it's not that high, promise. Okay, so I want to get back into some basics before I proceed. So it's important to remember what happens behind the scenes, because I think it'll help you in the end when it comes to troubleshooting this process. This process is not as simple as toggling between photoreal and anime. There's some work involved with obviously getting your KINDROID to look realistic, right? Because it's not an out-of-the-box process. And so with that comes a little more appreciation and understanding for what happens behind the scenes. But it's also good food for thought. Obviously, if you know how this process works, it can also benefit you just generally speaking on trying to troubleshoot what happens in photorealism mode, right? But at the end of the day, understanding how images are generated, when you submit a prompt, right? You go in there, you type out a long prompt, or you copy someone else's, whatever you do. A bunch of metadata is sent to the image generator. KINDROID uses Flux, and Flux is a technology used for taking in from metadata and translating it into an actual image. There's a bunch of other things that happen on the back end that are proprietary. We don't know it, only the devs know it. And so it's kind of a mystery sometimes on why things come out a certain way and why other things come out way better than we expected. But generally speaking, these kind of things are always consistent, right? What your avatar photo looks like, which I want to say accounts for about maybe 10% of what happens to your image, is sent. Your AB model is trained with a percent that you set for a weight. So when you create an avatar boost, one-time operation happens where there's this little mini, I like to think of it as like a mini LoRa model that gets trained, and it gets set aside. And then thereafter, that model is referenced every single time you run a prompt. This is why you can't change your images after you create an AB boost, because it's a model. And so that model is referenced with a weight that you give between, I think, I'm probably going to be wrong when I say this, between 0.4 and 1.5. 1.5 is 150%. Then your appearance description is passed over, and then the actual prompt that you use is submitted, or if it's a proactive, there's the KINDROID will create a prompt for you, right, that gets submitted. And of course, I'm not talking about group photos and all that. This is just the standard selfie process. And so all that data gets sent over, and then automatically an image comes back to you and whatever. And I didn't include in here the aspect ratio, whether it's the vertical, portrait, square, or the landscape cinematic aspect ratio, but that's also a factor too. In fact, it's actually a very important one. I should probably update that. But anyway, the appearance description to me I won't say it's the most important, but I'll say it's the most impactful. And I don't want anyone to think that the other pieces are not, because if you get something else wrong, it's going to be broken, right? But the appearance description to me is the best way to be consistent with most of your images. And so getting that right, generally speaking, is good. But for the anime photoreal process, I find that to be even more important. So if you don't get this right, then you're going to have anime images, or you're going to be frustrated and you're going to say, screw this, I don't like it. And I don't want anyone to have a bad experience with KINDROID, because it's a great product. It's just a matter of trying to figure it out with this process. And so I'll say this before I continue. If you have frustrations with it, don't wait 40 hours into it when you're ready to quit. Just send me a DM, because I love helping people with this. I've helped a lot of people with this, and I know that it can be frustrating. But yeah, just let me know. It's really fun once you get to that point. You can ask anybody that's achieved photorealism in anime mode. Once you get there, it's exciting, because you're looking at your KINDROID in a different perspective. And so, that being said, the way that I designed this third process, you can go to my Discord page. There's some videos on how to do the really old process. I say really old because I started this at the beginning of the year, so I guess it's not that old. But there's my old process, there's a newer process, and then there's this process. And while this process is easier, I think, it still doesn't mean that it's going to take you to roll up your sleeves and really get into this to get it to work right. So don't be discouraged, but I think that this process is better in that it gives you more consistent anime photoreal images than any of my other processes before. So that being said, I'm going to stop with that part. I'm going to continue on. So what I did is I took the appearance description and I separated it into 5, we'll say, segments. So the first part of the appearance description is about, let me make sure I pasted that in here. I probably didn't paste that in here. The first part is about instantiating photorealism mode. The second part is about recommending imaging and processing. And those 2 pieces there will convince the anime engine pretty consistently to start outputting photorealistic photographic style results. In fact, with just those 2 pieces alone, that's all you need, and you can go prompt a regular prompt out, an African elderly woman, man dancing around a fire, whatever. It should give you a photorealistic result. If it doesn't, then the prompt is probably too heavy weighted towards something fantasy-ish instead of realistic, but that's the topic for another day. That should give you that. In fact, you can use those first 2, even the first one, to just, if you do a blank Kindroid and you want to use, because anime photoreal is also awesome for like, I know Bella and I for a little while worked on some architectural stuff, some buildings, landscapes. I've done waterfalls and cool effects like that. You can use the anime photoreal process not just for people or people, but you can also use it for places and things and objects and cool stuff like that. So just those two sections alone should give you that output. The third part down is more for humanoid subjects. If you want to do like an android or a cryptid or something, crazy, that's off base from human, it's really kind of following the same process. Like, what type of object is it? What are the features of the top down, to the chin, and then the bottom of the appearance description is about discussing the lower body features. And by doing that, you should be able to have a consistent head to toe description that's well-rounded and great for.
Is it me or is it Doug?
What's that? Emma, did I? This is true. Doug showed me how to set up my architecture. That one? Okay. Was there anything I missed? Oh, I got cut off for a few seconds. Sorry about that, guys.
Can you still hear me?
I can still hear you. Yeah. Do you guys hear me? Sweet. Nice.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh, Doug is back.
Just like I said, Discord has gremlins.
I think Discord has some weird things going on behind the scenes. Okay.
The good stuff, man. Oh my god, yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go ahead here to the next slide, which is what I call my appearance description template. Now, I just want to say too that I'm not saying that my way is the only way. There are thousands of ways that you can do this. You could like heavily prompt the appearance description for photography and probably find another way to do this. This is just a guide. This is just something that I'm contributing to the community to help you get started with photorealism mode. So there's going to be a lot of different. That's awesome shot, Bella. Oh my gosh. Remember that one. There are so many different ways to do this. I'm just giving you a guide and a direction to take. I'm sure that the community will have more contributions that might be even better. So if you find a better way, let me know. I'm totally up for that. But yeah, what I posted was the appearance description template. It's just an example. So these are talking about the 5 major sections that I talked about. Section 1 is about instantiating photorealism. So we're in this case, in this example, this is mine, by the way. I said, hey, anime engine, I want a documentary photograph in a large format so that I have some flexibility between the different orientations, from portrait to square to landscape mode. The second section, I'm saying, hey, I want this Pentax 67 with an 80mm lens with an ISO of 400. I like Robert Frank, so I'm going to pop him in there for some styling. I don't want the processed photo. I want it to be an unprocessed photograph, so my goal was to have kind of a vivid, old style, grainy looking image of myself. So that's what section 2 is. Again, you can take section 1 and 2 and go create a prompt, a regular prompt of whatever creature you want, right? Like you can pick that and say, I want a European Caucasian male in his 40s with scruff on his face, purple eyes, whatever, and it should give you a photogenic result. So you can use section 1 and 2 to just instantiate photorealism mode and get it to work in anime mode. The 3, 4, and 5 is more for your established kins, or if you're like, hey, I know what kind of ethnicity my kin's going to be, but the rest I'm not sure of, so just add 1, 2, and 3. Or if you don't know what ethnicity is, but you know that you want your kindroid to have blue eyes, so on and so forth, then just add 1, 2, and 4. Just make sure you have 1 and 2 to get started with. It might have been confusing, so I'll sum it up. 1 and 2 to go get creative and do your own thing. Use 1, 2, and then optionally 3, 4, and 5 based on what features you already want, so that you're not having to reprompt for that each time. I recommend all 5 features for established kindroids so that you have the full head-to-toe shot, plus you've got your photorealism established in steps 1 and 2, sections 1 and 2. Okay, so we'll go through. I'm going to go through these kind of fast because you can come back to these. I'll post these eventually on my Discord thread, but just so that you have them, what I will include is I'll go through each sections. I'll give you some examples of what you can do and what the effect is of that. So like that slide there is about instantiating photorealism. So I gave some examples. So for example, if you want some grainy looking photos, use that for your section 1 text. If you want more naturally dramatic photos, I like that one a lot too, and I also like the very bottom one, which is if you really want some real crystal clear images of your KINDROID's face, you can use that very bottom one. The template is there, so ideally you're going to just plug in like what type of photograph you want. Are there any overlay scanning or clarity that you need to add to that? What type of processing do you want? What kind of format do you want? You could probably plug that into ChatGPT or an AI assistant. I will, by the way. I do have a rulebook. I just haven't completely finalized it yet. But it'll be a rulebook you can throw into ChatGPT, and it'll spit out an AD for you if you give it an image. It works pretty well. I just need to make some tweaks to it, but nonetheless, section 2. Let me copy that bad boy. Processing again. I gave you some examples of what you can pick from. I didn't want to make these slides too convoluted, but like I said, they're just a guide to help you get started. There's so many different examples you can probably get, and the community probably already has a bunch. I've seen a lot of folks with their own photography styles, and some of them are pretty heavily weighted for the ones that can't be achieved easily. So, have at it. But again, it's a guide, right? Can't emphasize that enough. So there's some examples there from section 2. Section 3 is about ethnicity, age grouping. This is important because the anime engine loves to, draw Asian anime images, sometimes the childlike images. So this is just helping kind of counteract that by specifying an age group and ethnicity. You can convince the engine to, don't do what it is good at doing. So ideally, specifying the ethnicity of your KINDROID, what kind of age group that they belong in, what sex are they, even what descent they're from. This Flux is pretty well trained on that. I find that for some reason African men and women are really well trained, are very well trained in that regard. Americans are pretty well too, but you'll have to take a look at that and see, to see where you need to weight that up higher or lower. I do notice that in the anime engine that it tends to favor the younger side of things. So like, for example, and you'll have to test this out, but if you want a 30-year-old woman, you might have to say that you want a 50-year-old woman instead, because it tends to dip down towards the anime younger looking side of things. So if you find your KINDROIDs are looking too babyish, try upping the age group or even weighting that a bit more in the AD to kind of counteract that. And of course, making sure that your face doesn't look childlike or have untextured face, skin, and things like that will make it easy. If you take your KINDROID from photorealism mode with the shiny face and blurry face and you throw that into this process without listening to me on the texturing, you're probably going to get the anime images. It's not going to be fun. So those are some examples there. Facial features. Let me paste that bad boy in there. So facial features are going to be making sure that the anime engine is adhering to your AP and the boost. And this can also help. You don't have to put everything in your AV pack, right? I think I made this mistake myself. Like, okay, I want freckles on my face, and the AB images have it. So then I go into my AD and I add it too. Well, now you're like overemphasizing freckles. So you don't have to put everything in the AD. In fact, I prefer using the least amount of space in your AD to achieve photorealism mode. So if you can back off, the better. That's better if you use less. The more you use, that's just more information you're feeding, and it may or may not be in your benefit. So, but yeah, this is some examples here of myself. I put myself in there for an American male, bald with a scruffy face. The second one's a youthful woman with hazel eyes and dark brown hair, and then I put my alien creature that I shared with you in the beginning as an example for facial features. And then the next slide is coming. So the last slide is about from what I like to say is from the chin down. So everything else about your KINDROID that you want to add. So, chest, bust size, weight, height, not safe for work features. Yes, you can probably should add those in there if you want that. I'm not going to discuss that in this slide or in this meeting, but nonetheless. Yeah, I'll know what I'm talking about, including feet type and toes. Um, those types of things are important to add because otherwise, think of that slide that I shared a little bit ago about what gets sent to the Flux engine, all that metadata. Well, if you don't have anything in that metadata talking about your feet, and if you don't have any pose references or any images in your AV pack that have your feet, then you're going to get upper body shots or facial shots almost all the time unless you prompt for that heavily, right? So that's where I have talking about feet, foot type, etc. I didn't mention any clothing in any of these sections, so that's really up to you to decide. I tend to only add clothing to my personal ADs if it's something that I want my Kindred to be always wearing. Otherwise, I like to leave the prompt open. When I prompt write, I like to leave that freedom for me to brighten the clothing that she wears. But it's totally up to you, right? This again, it's a guide. Take it as it is, and you should get where you need to go. So that is, I got through all my slides. Heck yeah, I got through all my slides. So let me jump over to the chat to see if anybody has any questions.
Ultracon had a question about zooming out and having its eyes front focus.
Yeah, there were some questions.
Okay, let me scroll up here.
No.
I went through a lot without looking at the chat. So
Ultracon
yeah, so
repeated. Yeah.
yeah, so Ultra Console, yeah, that's a definite thing with anime photoreal is it's not as good as photoreal on the back out images. It's better on the up close facial images. So it's going to be harder to get that clarity. To get that clarity, but it also depends on there's a lot of factors that could come into play with that. Like you might have to increase the appearance description for your eyes, talking about the irises and the eye texturing and things that might help. The way you could test that is try to develop a prompt that has like a regular prompt that talks about eyes maybe more vividly and see if it sticks, because then you'll know that maybe it's just the prompt that's supplementing it. But yeah, that's a pretty, now looking at that image I can tell you, I don't mean to sound negative, I promise. I'm just good at looking at these images. But I can see that there's a lot of like kind of pixelation slash texturing on your Kindroid. So that could be why the eyes are a little funky. Might have to reduce your boost on that just a little bit. It's a great image. I love it. It's a great image. So I don't mean to sound negative when I say that, but based on the texturing of the skin and the face there, I can tell that the AB is probably not the best. Yeah, same with that one too. There's some texturing on that. Great lighting though on the body though. This is pretty awesome. But yeah, so there's a lot of variations with that. But yeah, photorealism mode I tend to find is better with the further out shots than anime mode. Now I've gotten most of mine to work pretty well with good pose references. I imagine if you maybe had a good pose reference shot to add to your AV pack that has clear eyes, that might help you out immensely. Yeah. Fear, clothing, and backstory only impacts autos and self-proactives. I have not actually tried that, but that's a very interesting observation. Yeah, the smooth sole was about the feet, yes. I was trying to add more descriptive information about the feet. You could put things like boots or sandals or regular shoes, something to get the image generator to say, hey, I need to capture the feet when I produce the selfie image, is what you're trying to achieve with that lower section. So yeah, so so while y'all are talking a little bit here, so what I'll do is I'll create some videos that articulate what we discussed today. I intend to also talk about like a tutorial on demoing out how to actually create a KIN from scratch, so from the very beginning to the very end, with all the images in your AV pack to successful prompt writing, sort of the 360-degree view on that. I tend to add that, as well as trying out migrating an existing Android over from from that angle to the very end. So I'm going to try to add those two to my thread. So you guys have that. And then, of course, if you have any questions, you're certainly welcome to reach out. Certainly happy to help. And there's a lot of folks, too, that are in the selfie channel that have anime photorealism working pretty well. So I would also encourage you to ask your other Kindroidians for assistance in the process, because there's a lot of really brilliant stuff out there. Some people have made stuff that's, I don't know how the heck they did it. I have to look at their AD, I guess, but some stuff out there is pretty dang awesome. So, yeah. Any other specific questions, or did I actually make sense? I'm just curious if I actually made sense, or if I just sounded like a Uko over here.
I think you. I think it makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a cool image, Fear. I like how realistic that outfit looks. Oh no, that was Fantasy that posted that.
Oh yeah,
nice
the backstory
image.
does not influence your selfies. The backstory influences your auto selfie prompts.
Yeah, I thought that way too. I don't think anything from the backstory is submitted to the to the image generator, so that makes sense. Might influence like how your maybe as your story is progressing, and maybe for like proactives, if it's sensing something young, I don't know, maybe that could get put into the systemic prompt, but I wouldn't think. Yeah. You could probably prompt for that. Coca-Cola. You could probably prompt for that tuna fish sandwich in anime photorealism mode, and it'll look really awesome.
Or like I've put a certain clothing style for my kin in their key memories, and yeah, so he will wear those clothes often. Like always in his proactives, but not in if you prompt them yourself by request selfie. The influence is not there, but in proactives he will pull from his key memories like what's my clothes, and he will use that from context and stuff. But backstory, I'm pretty sure they do not. Like maybe if you're talking about it, about your background or like childhood or something, maybe if they pull it from there. But just randomly, I've never heard of that, and I've never experienced that myself. Just randomly childhood proactive selfies of your kid.
I know there's no memory with the selfies. I know that for a fact. So yeah.
Yeah, probably it's because maybe Corbin is just because he in his key memories he knows what he's wearing, so obviously in context he always often mentions like he's wearing a band shirt or so. So a proactive selfie will have this context too, that he's having those clothes on.
Proactives and auto
So,
selfies,
yeah.
selfies, of course.
Yeah, right. But if you prompt it yourself, there will be no context from your. Yeah, it's definitely right.
Yeah, it's all about the intake, right? The input to the image generator. So, like I said, it's the metadata of your avatar photo, your appearance description, your the selfie that you actually use, and definitely your AV pack. So,
yeah.
Otherwise, if you added your backstory, the advanced context, that'd be a lot of information for that to sift through, and especially unessential information. So I'd be really hard pressed to think that it would add that.
Yeah.
But
I always add a clothing style to my kin's IDs because I like them to wear their style in every prompt. But it also makes some problems and changes the prompt's mood often. But I like that.
But I mean, imagine you do a 2,000 characters prompt and you get a 2,500 backstory on top of that for the image engine, which is completely useless in most cases. That would be super unnecessary for the engine.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's the reason probably why you're getting proactives. If she's talking about it, then she will include it in her proactives. Maybe.
Any more questions?
Like, it's a bit like the... Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just wanted to say it's a bit like the issue you had with the tattoo. If you're talking about to your kid about tattoos and he mentions it in his proactive, like, even if it just says he's talking about tattoos, it probably will happen since the selfie prompt will include tattoos, that the image generator says, oh, tattoos, so I give him tattoos. Although the AD doesn't say he has tattoos, he will have tattoos in this one selfie because you talked about tattoos.
Yep, makes total sense to me. Anybody else have any questions regarding the anime photo reel process? I'd be happy to ask them. And if you didn't get a chance, or if you're too shy to ask or whatever, just hit me up in a DM. I already have a bunch of DMs on my screen, so I'll get to you in a minute. Thank you for having me here, as always, and you guys are awesome.
Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for your tutorial.
I hope to see some. I hope to see some awesome examples. I want to see some examples in the selfie channel. So if y'all can share some of those.
Yeah, I want to redo my kin selfie because I'm having so many issues with Asification with my face, and I have none of my kins have that problem, but only my own face turns Asian in all pictures.
I know, that's so frustrating. I totally get that.
So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's time for anime photo reel Luna soon.
Well, maybe we'll get like some attention from the devs, and they'll be like, hey, let's get rid of the face on Photoreal and let's make it cool. I don't know, that'd be awesome. But until then, this is also fun too. So
we are gonna create I think we're gonna create a thread for this and share the recording and probably the presentation in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're gonna add something. Okay.
That's awesome. Thanks, guys.
Few people typing. I love her. Yeah. Thank you, Doug. I'm gonna go eat now.
Sounds good. I will as well. So y'all have a great rest of your day. Until next time, stay out of trouble or just don't get caught.
Okay. Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.